Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where I had a slight mishap with technology here. Specifically what happened is we went through the burn that was previously scheduled, but the recording didn't actually take, which is unfortunate. So unfortunately I lost the footage from that burn. It was exactly the burn as we had planned. We used up all of the liquid fuel. You can see we've used virtually half of the fuel here. So that's all that happened there. Nothing major, and we'll take a look at the actual situation here. Unfortunately, I can't revert back either. I normally would in this situation, but the save appears to no longer exist. It appears to have gotten overwritten by a quick save that I made afterwards, which is very sad indeed. But this is the way we came back, which is almost exactly what we had planned for. I think it's a little too aggressive, though. We're going to be coming in quite fast here. So let's go around to, not surface velocity minus, I want to go around to retrograde here. And I want to just bring this up to be around 40 kilometers, I think. We're going to be coming in really, really fast. 46? That's probably good enough. Okay, so I want to burn off the remainder of our fuel here. We're going to have to get some aerobraking done. So we're going to burn off the remainder of our fuel about here. Maybe a little earlier than that. Something kind of like this. And we're going to do a radial retrograde burn to try to keep our periapsis about the same. So I'm going to target, I think, 40 kilometers for that. We're going to be running out of fuel here quite soon. 948 meters per second is what we have. So it looks like we can back off a little bit on the radial. That's a little too much. That's not backing off. We can go down to about here. Yeah, that seems reasonably fine there. So we have 948 meters per second, so we just back this off to be about here. We just burn off all of that fuel, right? And then we'll head over to the node. I just don't want to be coming in too quickly here and have some weird atmospheric effects. So, let's warp. We are going to be coming in very fast. For sure. We've also gotten a lot of data back. I think Ike is done at this point. We've got a lot of data from Eve, although I did just see a message that Eve no longer has a connection, like Duna. We'll maybe check that eventually. I don't know. We might actually get enough tech from this to max out our tech, which would be interesting. So we're going to be starting this burn in about 20 days here. We should be seeing Kerbin pretty soon. It's probably a bit below us. We're loading into its sphere of influence right now. Hi, Kerbin. Are you Moon? You're Moon. Hi, Kerbin. Okay, so, right, I had this thrust limited. So we're going to unthrust limit that. I did that for fine-tuning our approach previously, but I decided that I wanted to raise it up a little bit further here. So that'll be absolutely fine. And it was still necessary for raising this up a little further. No doubt about that. So we're going to warp in here, and the question is, what altitude is this going to be at? It should be okay, right? Yeah, we're still at 400 kilometers here, but look at that speed. Yikes. We're going to slow down a decent chunk here. So 2, 1, and mark. Cool. I'm also going to stow our photovoltaic panels and our communitron right now. There we go. And let's burn off what speed we can. Beautiful. And hopefully we're going to come back safe enough. The real question is, are we okay with only the one radial mount drogue chute? But I suspect we will be. It'll just come down kind of wonky, which should be okay. I want to make sure that we've collected all of the data that we can. That's not in here. That's up here. I want to make sure that we've collected all of the data that we can. Up here. There we go. I'm going to go to surface velocity minus here shortly. We have managed to slow down a fair amount. Let's just go to surface velocity minus now and burn off the remainder of this fuel. It's now gone, so we'll expose our heat shield. And we're just going to come in at surface velocity minus now. Cool. Not sure why we had some frame drops there. I guess patches of the planet loading in. But now we can warp forward a bit. We're continuing to accelerate, of course. But we're hitting the atmosphere now. Cool. The question is, are we going to slow down enough that we get captured here? And are we going to need a second aerobrake pass? That's a theoretical possibility. We are seeing a heat gauge. The magnetometer might burn off. That's fine if it does. Not a major concern there. Okay. We are also seeing a heat gauge on the Communitron. Stuff is blowing up. We're moving very, very fast. We are slowing down, though. So that's good. How are we doing on ablation? 180. This is a very toasty re-entry. We're still really, really high up here. 40 kilometers. We're about to hit the periapsis in 20 seconds, in theory, but we're slowing down a lot. We are about to enter orbit here. Cool. We've now entered orbit. We are continuing to slow down. Not as quickly as I'd like, but we are definitely slowing down. 3.1 kilometers per second right now. We are still cruising. Absolutely cruising here. No doubt about that. Our apoapsis height is dropping nicely. We've bled a lot of speed from this. The question is, are we going to need a second aerobrake pass? I believe all we lost from this was the magnetometer. It's a little hard to tell, what with all of the plasma. But I believe that all we lost so far was the magnetometer. We're definitely going back up at this point. So we're past the periapsis. We're probably going to have to take a second aerobrake pass. No more heat gauges. That's a good sign. Okay. I think that we're going to need a second aerobrake pass. I really, really do. We're still moving pretty good here. But even without any fuel, from here we should be relatively good. Still about 1 million meters on the apoapsis there. So yeah, we definitely came in speedily. It's not my fastest re-entry ever, but it's up there. That's what we get for kind of cheating on the way home. And specifically what I mean by that is we avoided spending a lot of Delta V that we would have otherwise needed to spend for a quote-unquote proper intercept without aero capture. Aero capture isn't actually cheating. It's just, in terms of like Delta V calculations, it's kind of cheating in a weird sort of way. It's essentially free thrust, right? And gravity assists work the same way. So we're going to make our way back up through the rest of the atmosphere now that we no longer have any heat issues. It looks like all we lost was our magnetometer, so that looks good. We're now officially in space, so we should extend our solar panels again. What is our periapsis? 37 kilometers? Okay. I'm glad we didn't go deeper. That was a little bit spooky as it was. So let's warp our way on around. Cool. And we'll come in for another pass here. As soon as we hit the atmosphere, we'll drop out of warp, and we are going to retract our solar panels again. Beautiful. And let's go again. Are we okay with physics warping this one this time? We're coming in at, like, not quite, or a little over half the speed that we did before. It's definitely slower, and we're starting to slow down again. How are we doing on ablation? We did burn off about half of our ablator, but I don't think we're coming back up for a third aerobrake pass after this one. I'm pretty sure we're not. But here we go, round 2 on the plasma. Definitely slowing down somewhat. I'd like to see this dropping faster. I want to pin open our resources here. I'm a little concerned about our ablator, but I think it'll be fine. I'm like 40% sure that it'll be fine. I know that's not very sure, but I'm about 40% sure it'll be fine. Okay, now I'm about 60% sure. I looked at what our apoapsis height was, and our current surface velocity. What's our orbital velocity? 2,500? Okay. I'm about 80% sure now. Beautiful. So that has changed rapidly over the last little while. The real question is, are we going to regret not having that drogue chute? And honestly, I think it'll be fine. The drogue chute's primary purpose is to slow us down enough for the main chute to be usable. So that should be broadly okay. We're now officially not coming back out of the atmosphere, and we're on an impact trajectory. Beautiful. That looks very, very good. We're still very, very high up, remember. But we're just below orbital velocity now. And we're still just a cruising. No doubt about that. Luke has got quite a lengthy plasma blackout going on here. Comms can't go through a plasma bubble like this, so I hope he enjoys that. We're down to 1,900 meters per second. This is looking good. I don't think there's any real problem here. We've still got 60 ablator left. Seems completely okay. We're 30 kilometers up. It's looking like a splashdown. A splashdown would be ideal. Not that we really controlled for that, but that's lucky. Certainly ideal that we're getting a splashdown here. Excellent. So this is currently saying an impact time of about 1 minute. That's reasonably accurate, probably. But we are going to have parachutes, of course, and that's going to delay things rather a lot. So let's bring this on in. I still don't feel like we want to... I feel like we're going too slow for this kind of plasma, but it should be going away momentarily. We don't want a physics warp just yet, I feel like. That was a very energetic re-entry. No doubt about that. But luckily, aerobraking is effective. So we're currently moving at about 900 meters per second. 800. And out goes the drogue chute. That'll start slowing us down. We can have the smart ASS off at this point. It doesn't really matter. The unbalancedness of this drogue chute is actually kind of working in our favor right now. It's pulling us to be less aerodynamic, actually, which is kind of funny. Let's get the main chute out, and we should be fine from here. Let's warp our way down until we see these guys start to open. I just don't want to have all of that strain here. We have had it broken that once. So we'll just bring this guy right on down. Still moving pretty good here. 150 meters per second. But we're going to have the drogue chute deploy now. And I'm just coming out of the physics warp. Yeah, it's definitely weird to only have the one drogue chute, but I'm pretty sure this is fine. And down we go. Actually, we can grab an atmospheric analysis here. We may as well. Why not? Not you. Open you. There we go. Close your doors. We don't want water getting in there. Not that that, you know, matters in the game, but it's fine. So we grab our atmospheric analysis. We may as well. And yes, 7 meters per second for a splashdown. That's absolutely fine. We'll warp down to the surface. No problem whatsoever. Very, very energetic re-entry, but it was fine. I'm very glad that I didn't go for that 28 kilometers. That would have been bad. That would have been very bad, I think. That would have been way too much speed for this poor little heat shield to deal with. But as it is, the gut pays off. I like it. And we're splashed down. I suppose we could grab a gravity scan, but there's not really a point, I think. We'll recover our vessel and see how much science we got from that. It's going to be a lot. That was a in-space high flyby over Moho. That's going to be a lot of science. We didn't get the in-space low stuff that I was thinking about getting, but that's still probably going to be at least 1,000 or 2,000 science. I don't know that it'll be enough to max us out, but with what we transmitted back from Eve, maybe. We also, of course, finished up our exploration mission, and then the question is, what is the next exploration mission? We'll see. What do we got? As soon as we load. This is the problem with the parallax mod. It definitely adds to the loading time. So yeah, we ended up getting around 2,000 total science, only 750 from the flyby. I would have expected that to be a little bit more. Interesting. Well, we currently have 2,000 science, and we don't need that much more to get this all maxed out, right? Let's take nano lathing, let's take high performance fuel systems, and then we can grab one of these, like experimental electrics if we want RTGs. Beyond that, honestly, these top tier sciences aren't all that big of a deal, in my opinion. So we can just start filling them out. I do want to hop over to Duna real quick. We should have a lot of science that we can transmit back from our science bay. So the combined Duna lander here. And we can see, I suppose, if we've got that science connection going on. Maybe we can send additional science from our deployed science. Maybe. So as soon as we load in here, we'll find out. Once again, any moment now, KSP, you can do it. Any moment now. There we go. So we currently have about 500 science in here, so we should transmit this back. Not enough electric charge. We're still trying to transmit stuff. Like a year later? Multiple years later? That seems exciting. Let's warp over to the day side here. There, now we're sending data. Cool. We sent the lab data there. It currently has negative 500 science. That's exciting. I don't know how that happened. That seems like a bug. But sure, it's got negative 500 science. Now the next question is this stuff down over here. You're connected. Completed 100%. Transmitted 0%. Okay. Let's have Dilful EVA here. Which is going to be kind of exciting. Here on Duna, of course. We'll just hop down to the ground and... Wow, he's moving very strangely. Okay. Regardless, we're going to disable this part and re-enable it. I'm also going to disable this and re-enable that. Okay. I'm hoping that we can get some of the science transmitted. But if we can't, it's not the end of the world. So we would want to climb back in, but Dilful can't climb in here, can he? Yeah, that's a full module. So we would need to temporarily move Milbro. This is slightly awkward. We would need to temporarily move Milbro up over here. And then Milbro would EVA. And then Dilful would get in. And then we would move Dilful up here. Then Milbro would drop down. And hop in. Slightly awkward, to be sure. But it'll do the trick for now. So we got that 500 science, but I think we actually got 1,000 science here. It'll take some time for them to work through that science deficit. I'm sure that'll be fine. Let's head back to the Space Center and see what we can do with our very strangely acquired science. I don't know how you can acquire science. Like, did they open a science futures market? Is that what's happening here? I don't know. How would that even work, a science futures market? I'm confused. Regardless, they're going to need to make that back at some point. So that'll keep them busy for a while. We're at only 500 science. Okay. So we didn't get the science. It just removed it twice, I think. Weird. Very weird. Well, what's our exploration mission? Splash down into the oceans of Eve. I mean, sure. We can definitely do that. That doesn't require any sort of a Kerbal, so we can do that unmanned. The real question is, would we be able to target a splashdown? So if we were to start with something like... Where are we? The Eve Lander. It'd be a very similar craft. Obviously, all of this fuel was basically wasted. So we would ditch all of this, and we would call this the Eve Splashdown. And we would ditch a lot of this stuff up here. We would definitely want to get rid of our fuel here. Get rid of this whole thing. We'd use a small remote guidance unit. Where is that? There it is. Okay. It was just hidden. Cool. So we'd use a small remote guidance unit. We would use... Definitely, it would need some form... Maybe we give it a little bit of propulsion. So, like a T-200, perhaps. Just so that it can maneuver itself a little bit. And then we would put in possibly like a spark. That is 20... Actually, what's the ISP? 320. And we compare that to, say, a Terrier, which is 345. So the Terrier is the more efficient engine. We will bring the Terrier then. Cool. We'd put on some retractable photovoltaic panels. I'm going to do 4, because we don't know what orientation we're going to splash down in. So we're going to do that. We're going to need an antenna on this thing, and we may want to put on something like an RA-100. Then all we would need is a decoupler. So we'd use a TD-12 decoupler. And then we would use a heat shield. So we'd probably use a big expandable heat shield like this. We would definitely want to have some form of parachutes on here. So I would put on a pair of drogue chutes that would end up being like this. And then a pair of main chutes that would be wildly overkill for Eve, right? So they would go about there. So that would be the craft that we'd be delivering to Eve. Now the question is, actually that fairing is about perfect. It's a little bit imperfect here. So we'd bring that up and in kind of like that. That'll do for the fairing. We've ditched this here. So I do want to have these strut connectors probably connect to something, right? We'll have them come up here for now. And we're going to do quad strut connectors. Oh, we have no reaction wheel on this. We should have a reaction wheel on this. The remote guidance unit does not have... Actually, it does have a reaction wheel. Never mind. I thought that that didn't have a reaction wheel. Okay, well, I'm dumb. That's fine. What is our initial stage thrust to weight? 1.73. Do we need the SRBs? That's a negative. The SRBs can be gotten rid of. I love it. This thing is still ridiculous, but this is way less ridiculous. But it is going to Eve. Okay, so I think that's pretty much good to go on this design. I don't think it needs much more than this. That seems completely good. The major thing that we might want to have is some strut connectors going from here if we can get one that actually works down here somewhere. Yeah, that's not really working. Come on, strut connectors. You can do it. Hey, there we go. All of them but one worked. We'll call that good enough. So that should be absolutely fine. This will be no problem here. This will make it to Eve, and we'll be able to splash down in theory, assuming that we're able to actually hit a target. That would be, you know, helpful, but that should be fine. With that, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we are going to go do a splashdown. Maybe not get there. Well, we should get there next episode. There's no return trip. It should be fine. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, James Shadowwolf, Mlohan80, Rogue Corvid, Kentogan, Andy Magar, Spartan News, Nix Marty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.